Now, I hope this video will be a short one, relatively, compared to my previous video about electron transport chain. So, this is actually like a reaction that's a lot similar to electron transport chain. So, if you understood the principle for the oxidative phosphorylation, I think this will be much easier to learn. And so, what essentially this is talking about is the this is the light dependent reactions for the photosynthesis. So write that down. This is the light dependent reactions. And there's actually two ways that this can go. One is non-cyclic photophosphorylation, and another one is cyclic photophosphorylation. So how does this actually work? I have drawn this diagram before I started, so it'll be easier for you to later to understand how it actually worked. But I'm just gonna tell you what these things that I draw are. These are two photosystems. This is photosystem 2. This is photosystem 1. Photosystems are basically a cluster of pigment molecules, or should we call it light harvesting pigment molecules. So if I draw in detail, this will be what a photosystem looks like. Photosystem. It looks like this is like the cluster. Inside it got like a lot of accessory pigments like this. And in the middle, there's a reaction center that's consisting of two chlorophyll A molecules. So this one is the reaction center. And yeah, the energy, actually let me draw like an actual one. This is like photosystem. These are like accessory pigments. And then you have like at the end of the tunnel, you have like two chlorophyll A as your reaction center. So essentially what will happen is that when light energy arrives at the thylakoid, not the thylakoid, the photosystem. Imagine this is like your photon. This light energy is gonna get passed down and eventually reaches the reaction center. So these accessory pigments, they each pick up some of the wavelength of the light energy, and they'll pass the energy down. So they're gonna absorb like some of the wavelength, and for the wavelengths that they do absorb, they will pass it down. So side note is the energy that accessory pigments absorb, they pass it down to the reaction center. So this energy, so now you can imagine that here at the reaction center, the two chlorophyll A molecules, they have a lot of energy now. So the electrons inside the pigments actually gets excited. So the electrons will actually like, let's say this is the color of the electron. it's gonna leave the reaction center because it gets excited. So it moves from a lower energy state or lower energy level to a higher energy level. So this is pretty much what happens at the beginning of like every light dependent reaction. So now I have demonstrated this. I'm going to erase this. Let me change my eraser. So keep that in mind. That's basically how a photosystem works. So now, let's consider the non-cyclic photophosphorylation first, since that's like the most comprehensive reaction for the entire light dependent reaction process. So now we have light energy arriving at the photosystems for both photosystems, 2 and 1, both of them. This is light energy. And this light energy is going to bring up an electron from here at the reaction center and one here from here. They're going to excite it, so it actually moves up to a higher energy level. Actually, maybe it does not leave the photosystem. Does not make sense, but it just gets higher up, as in now it's at a higher energy level, the electron here. Okay, so now what happens is I'm actually gonna shift electrons down the electron transport molecules or electron carriers. So for this electron that I've excited in the photosystem 2, what it gets, it's gonna get, oh my god, okay, I'm gonna relax. It's gonna get passed down. So from here, it's gonna go to it's gonna move to this energy carrier, then it'll move to the next, then it'll move to the next. And if you have realized, as it goes down, it actually releases energy as it goes down. So it's similar to oxidative phosphorylation, so keep that in mind. And eventually my electron here is going to replace my electron in the photosystem 1. So let me just show you how that happens again. So now I'm going to erase the bottom electrons since they already moved up to a higher energy level. And I'm going to label this electron a slightly different color so you can differentiate them. I think I'll say this color works. Okay. So watch this electron. It's gonna get moved down to the next electron carrier, then the next, then the next, then it's gonna come to here. And this electron is gonna move to this complex right here, and this is actually where a reaction takes place, but I'm gonna explain that later. So one thing I want to talk about before I move on is that you realize this electron here, when it was getting moved down this chain of electron carriers, it actually releases energy every time. And this energy will actually, it's not just wasted into the surrounding. It actually does one thing. That is, it moves the hydrogen ions out. Wait, Is it out? Let me just double check. No. So this energy right here, this is actually supplied to hydrogen ions. It's supplied for hydrogen ions that are outside the thylakoid membrane to be pumped back in. So this is actually what the energy does. The energy supplies the active transport of hydrogen ions from the stroma back into the thylakoid space. So just keep in mind, this is like the thylakoid space. This is the thylakoid membrane. And this is a stroma. So now I have, since the energy has supplied, the energy is used for the active transport of hydrogen into the thylakoid space. Now the hydrogen ions are actually, there's now a lot of hydrogen ions inside the thylakoid space. Okay, now, so the photosystem 1, if you see the electron, that it has got excited. The electron that I have excited from photosystem 1 now moves to this purple complex over here. And here actually a reaction happens. The reaction that happens is what I explained in the video I just previously uploaded. It is the reduction of NADP. So what essentially happens is that a molecule of NADP is going to become NADPH. Or reduced NADP. It's the same thing, just different names. And well, let me just tell you what this reaction needs, like the NADP reduction. This reaction actually needs two protons and 2 electrons. But now, you probably have realized, first of all, I don't have 2 electrons here, I only have 1. Second, I don't have 2 hydrogen ions here. So you might ask me, where does that come from? So I have shown you previously, but it comes from a reaction called the photolysis of water. And that reaction looks like this. The reaction will be H2O using the enzyme called oxygen evolving complex. It gets broken down to 2 hydrogen ions, 2 electrons, and half of a oxygen gas molecule. Now this oxygen gas molecule, you can ignore it for now because it just kinda turns into waste gas and gets diffused out of the cell, maybe later used for respiration, because respiration needs oxygen for the last bit, for the oxidative phosphorylation part. But that's a question mark. It might happen, it might not happen, but that's basically it. And what I'm especially looking at is the hydrogen ions, 2 of them, and the electrons, 2 of them, right here. I'm gonna just like quickly split them into 2 electrons right here. And I'm gonna talk about the 2 hydrogen ions first. I've told you just now that the reduction of NADP requires 2 hydrogen ions, and that's actually, and these 2 hydrogen ions here is actually where it came from. So from the photolysis of water, it supplies the reduction of NADP with 2 hydrogen ions. And actually, one of the electrons that is going to be part of the reactant in the reduction of NADP comes from this electron, which is also produced in the photolysis of water. I'm gonna use a different arrow color. Actually, no, I will draw it just directly here. There it is. So by breaking it down, just one water molecule, I can already make my reaction take place. So now the NADPH will be successfully produced. And this is actually like a form of energy which will later be used in the Calvin cycle. But we ignore that first. I'm going to go back to this electron that we haven't talked about just now. Where does this electron go? So actually the second electron here, it's going to go to the reaction center of the photosystem 2 back again. And this is how like the reaction kind of just repeats itself, because now you see the electron that I have previously had in the photosystem 2, I have moved it down this chain of electron carriers to photosystem 1. But now I have to replace like a new electron in the photosystem 2. So that's where it came from. Okay, so that's quite comprehensive for the non-cyclic part, but just one thing I want to say before I end the non-cyclic part is that the hydrogen ions that we have accumulated inside the thylakoid space is now going to get pumped out of the thylakoid space. So the hydrogen ions, they're going to move out from the ATP synthase, and as they move down ATP synthase, they're going to produce ATP. And for the exact mechanism, you can refer to the oxidative phosphorylation video, because it's basically the same thing, but just in a slightly different direction. Okay, so this is the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. What about the cyclic? Well, it actually kind of just builds upon the non-cyclic reaction. But now, instead, we don't have to talk about like everything that's going on here. Well, nothing in photosystem 2 has to be talked about. Wait, let me rephrase that. Now we only look at the photosystem 1, the energy carriers, and the ATP synthase. So ignore I've just drawn just now. I'm going to use my pointer to tell you what the cyclic reaction looks like. So as usual, we have one electron in the photosystem 1. It will get excited. Okay. And after it gets excited, it's going to go to this this electron carrier, and it's going to get passed down to another electron carrier, get passed down, and the energy gets released, exactly like my previous mechanism. And this energy also is going to supply the hydrogen ions to be pumped back into the thylakoid space. So this happens. And after that, these hydrogen ions will be reused to be pumped out of the ATP synthase down this concentration gradient by facilitated diffusion, and we're going to produce ATP. So the only difference is that we don't talk about the reduction of NADP here, we don't use the photosystem 2 here, and we don't really need the oxygen evolving complex, if I'm correct. So that's basically light dependent reactions.